CLion, a cross-platform IDE for C and C++. Download now.
I don't know if you had challenging projects, but today that's what we are talking about. Those kind of projects that elude our ability to estimate, plan, and control. And I will explore the hypothesis that the messiness of our life has something to do with the messiness of some of those projects. And let's see if there is some learning from there. So there you go. Here we have blue skies and the stars, more or less aligned. And at the beginning of some projects, it feels like that. Blue sky, stars, everything is beautiful. We feel like we are going to build a rocket to go into space. And then a few months later, for some projects, the initial clarity on what to build, how to build it, how long it's going to take, start to vanish. And it feels like we are struggling just to come out from a manhole. And there are no more stars and blue sky there. It's not really a nice feeling. So I will talk about why some projects may turn like that, and why our ability to estimate and plan in those projects stop working, no matter how good we are and how hard we try. You know, at the post-mortem or retrospective, when we say, oh, we should spend more time analyzing, we should spend more time designing. Well, even if you do that, there are some projects that will turn out like that. So I would like to introduce a new and forgotten philosophy of work, management, and leadership, and see if that can help. A little introduction about myself. Well, you already hear it from my accent. I'm Italian. I come from a small town, a Prosecco town in the north of Italy. And a little story that related to what I'm telling you today. I'm part of a generation of teenagers that experienced the first personal computing revolution. I got my first home computer. Like many teenagers of those years, I got into computer programming. And after the personal computing revolution, we went through many other revolutions: internet and the web, mobile, cloud computing, artificial intelligence now. And I've always found myself at the intersection of technology, people, and innovation. Innovation like this technical revolution and others, like moving from mainframe to client server to distributed computing, moving from indexed file to relational databases to NoSQLs, or moving from procedural languages to component and object-oriented languages and then functional languages. So technical revolution, innovation, there is a broader dynamic here that somehow we are all facing over time. A dynamic where the rate of change and the pace of innovation is constantly accelerating, and it's accelerating exponentially. We are dealing also with a growing number of dependencies, technological dependencies, but also interdependencies, social, economical, political. And because of these, in our projects and also in our life, more and more often, we find ourselves navigating uncharted water and dealing with the unexpected, instead of walking a well-known path with certainty and without surprises. So, going back to my initial point about those challenging projects that we may struggle to deal with, well, on top of this, because of this uncharted water and innovation, one of the reasons why these challenging projects start to become challenging is because what I generically call is our intractable problem and elusive opportunity. So let's see what they are and how to navigate them. Meanwhile, as I did before, I encourage you to start thinking about in your work or in your life, have you ever met this type of challenging project? Do you have example of those type of projects? How did it felt? how have you dealt with them, what lesson you learned. We will come back to that. So.
Daddy says you can predict exactly when Mars will be in the sky, even in 100 years. But the funny thing is that Daddy doesn't know what will happen to him 2 minutes from now.
Panic. So on one side of science and a philosophical interpretation of deterministic models, we have Cartesian universe and the equation from Newtonian classic physics, and we can predict where Mars will be in 100 years, right? But in many of our projects, that's not enough. That doesn't explain why we find ourselves unable to estimate our projects, our software development delivery initiative, our significant piece of work, and sometimes even to know if they are feasible at all and if they will be completed. And so, well, no need to drill down into the philosophical matter of determinism, free will, and all this stuff. Let's keep it much more easy. But let's start to think about why these projects encounter this intractable problem and these elusive opportunities that make our life hard. So, well, whether you're working on some very tech advanced business where you deal with innovation, or whether you're simply impacted by the piece of innovation and the rates of change, let's try to understand more about these intractable problems. These problems are those that can be, sometimes they can only be fully understood after we have developed a working solution. We have discovered how to build it, and we have proved that they work. So we only understand them at the end. There's no point in spending a lot of time up front because there are a lot of things that we will only learn and understand during the journey. They may also keep changing while we are actively working on them. So they change over time, and what we do contribute to change the problem, the understanding of the problem, and the shaping of the solution. Some may not admit a final solution. We have to keep working on them. Those that work in maintenance and operation of systems know what I'm talking about. It's a never-ending job. You always have to keep up. They can be hard to solve, even if at the beginning they may seem straightforward. And they are pervasive, and they may cause collateral damage. So not only you may have problem on the project, but these have implication on other teams, on other projects, on other plans. So to my mind comes an American company that provided business-to-business services on talent management. They provided the platform from talent management, service like career and benefit tracking and management, salary calculation. So they had the team that every quarter onboarded the new client system, integrating their system into their platform. More or less 80% of the project went well according to plan, but then they had 15% of projects where after they started, they realized that they had to make changes to their platform. And then other teams had to be involved to make those significant changes to the platform. So not only the company's clients onboarding plan was ruined, but also the plans of other departments that had to help. Here, another example of this project here is a co-worker of mine at the time when I worked in Ferrari Formula One, Marco Fainello. He was head of vehicle performance development and won a total of 14 championships with Ferrari. So he had to deal with a lot of challenging projects, a lot of innovation, and also a lot of dependencies from other departments, but also FIA and external dependencies. And he found that the traditional approaches, traditional management didn't work for him. So he had to find out his own way to manage this type of projects. And when I shared with him the literature and the idea that I'm sharing with you, he was kind of happy because he found out that there was names and concepts and a literature that he could refer to other people working with him, but also a community of people that were interested to this different way of doing things that he could talk about. Another one is Martin Florian. He has been an engineering manager in Stockholm Spotify. And when they innovate their product, they also have to deal with the challenging projects. And he went into this type of thinking in order to deal with those challenging projects as an engineering manager. So before continuing, I'm curious to ask, did any project like this come to your mind? Projects that face challenging, intractable problems, elusive opportunity that are hard to estimate? And not only project, I'm coming to you, not only project, also things in your life, renovating home or organizing an holiday abroad with a group of friends that have very different opinion and yeah. Do you want
to say yes? Of course, all the time. Estimation is always wrong. I could never finish a project at 6 p.m. on the last day. Either I finish 1 minute early or 1 minute late or 1 month late. But it's an estimation, it's always wrong.
Yeah. Anyone, please?
I have basically tried to stop making estimations when I don't absolutely have to. And when I have to, I put in reserves, I put in plan Bs, like if we halfway done, can we make sure that it's the half that matters so that the next person can continue, and so on and so forth. So contingency plans.
Yeah. Anyone else that has some example in mind? Yeah, you say being a parent, yeah. Any other specific example that you want to share? Okay, let's continue. So, what I wanted to share with you is indeed this new philosophy of work management and leadership that has been forgotten. I have another question for you. Are today's organization equipped to deal with this kind of challenges and a project with what I call intractable problems and elusive opportunity? Let's do a raise of hand pool. Do you think that today's organization are equipped? If your answer is, I'm not sure, I don't know, raise your hand. Okay. If you think no, raise your hand. And if you think yes, raise your hand. Okay, a lot of I don't know. It's that's the best answer. Is really on topic. Sometimes you need to know a lot to know that you don't know. So, in my experience, I work in many organizations where I don't think they were prepared to deal with this. I had a lot of managers or boss asking me how long it's gonna take. Are you certain about this? I need to make a plan and communicate it to others. When I talk with those managers and I tell them we are dealing in a situation, we are navigating uncharted water, they feel uncomfortable, and sometimes they believe you are not good enough to know what you're doing. That's why you're navigating uncharted water. It's not because these are uncharted water. So I think that I found many organizations that were not equipped in order to deal with the impact of estimates that doesn't work. They try to introduce marginal evolution to their operating model and way of working, or they try to work by exception, like if it was one-off. Oh, this project is challenging, like the 10% of the American company before. So we do an exception, we break our rules, But then we go back to our normal way of doing things. And for me, that has been the majority of cases. But given the frequency of these challenges, what I personally think is that in most cases, this is not enough. And I'm pitching here really a completely new philosophy to approach this challenging project, to approach a way to navigate this uncharted water. And it's a new philosophy, it's a new way of thinking, it's a new paradigm that has a new impact on the way that on leaders' attitude, behaviors, on guiding principles, on our practices, but can have a potential huge impact also on the organization design, governance, policies, and way of working. So potentially, it is a big thing. We are talking about reinventing the organization and the way that we think about working together. Now, today, my goal for today is simply to share with you these concepts and create awareness and share with you something that may be interesting for you to explore more in the future. Since you are all very smart, there is a very smart audience at this conference. You may be wondering, what is he talking about? For sure, science and industry have faced this problem before. So am I selling a new recipe? Do I have some certification ready for you? Relax, no. I'm talking about existing, relevant, publicly available knowledge that has just been overlooked and forgotten, and I would like to make it accessible again because I find it important, and I find it important because it is essential in the type of work that we do, where we are constantly innovating. Again, the latest wave is artificial intelligence, and it's something new again. So, why forgotten? Many of the ideas came out for the 30s and the 90s. Some example, well-known one, Toyota built better and cheaper car than Ford and General Motors. If General Motors and Ford built better car, maybe we didn't need the tariffs. And Toyota used an approach that was different from the tradition. It was people-centered. Olivetti, an Italian company, very little known, but they focus on social responsibility. The social responsibility in the neighborhood, in the city, and in the region where the company was operating. And they were focusing on a holistic well-being of workers, not only inside the organization, but also outside. This company, I don't know, many don't know, created the first programmable calculator used in NASA moon mission and the first webcam. Janet Jacobs, she revolutionized urban planning, putting people at the center. These are between the 30s and the 90s, so very old ideas that are very well connected to this new philosophy of work, new but forgotten. Christopher Alexander transformed architecture and software, introducing the new concept of patterns, giving a language and therefore a voice to those affected by architecture and the software, and so democratizing architecture and software. And many of you know in the 90s, these and other ideas birthed software development lightweight method. A philosophical revolution that is very similar to the one that I'm talking about. They are very, very similar. So, given a working solution was already there, why most organizations that I met don't use this new philosophy, even if we are dealing more and more often with that type of projects? So I found two reasons. One is tradition and old habits. Second, industrial revolution, electronic powered assembly line, Fordism and Taylorism. They are still all around us more than we realize. That is tradition and old habits that are hard to die. They brought us combustion engine and electric vehicle, modern medicine, semiconductor. So they have the good merits. But that way of thinking is already is still influencing what is taught at school and what apprentices are taught in many organizations. Many of the practices that we use and we still discuss as modern practices still have their root in Fordism and Taylorism, and we don't even realize that. There is people that come up with new practices. I will not mention any of them. I don't want to be contentious, but they're still rooted in 100-year-old way of thinking. And so these are the elements that are still there, even if we don't see them. The element of this paradigm and way of thinking. It is predictive, based on plan and estimate. It is prescriptive. It's normal to have a manager that overview the activities and tell other people what to do. It is process-centric in the sense that we count on process to tell people how to do what they have to do. The way of working and processes are mostly static and defined. It is transactional and retributive. So when something goes wrong, we put blame on someone. We call it accountability. And that's fine, have its merit and the context where it works. And it is mechanistic. Did you still hear the metaphor of software factory? It is pretty common. And is used as a good idea. We should have a software factory. That's fine, but that's a mechanistic metaphor, and is part of Fordism and Taylorism. And then from a scientific point of view, it is deterministic and reductionist. So use the same type of science that allow us to predict where Mars will be in 100 years. Still, daddy don't know what will happen in 2 minutes from now. And we don't know what will happen to our project. So that part of the science is not exactly what we need. Let's talk about human nature aversion. So many of us, not everyone, but many of us have an innate aversion to uncertainty, ambiguities, and unknowns. You know, they say, I'd rather be wrong than uncertain. So I decide this, if it is wrong, who cares? But at least I know where I'm going now. Instead, we crave certainty, control, and simple, linear, convincing narratives. If you wonder why we still elect idiots politicians, that's the reason why we elect those idiots. Because we want simple explanation. We love them. I love them, but you know, when you have a technical problem and when you have trade-off and pros and cons and there are difficult decisions, there is no simple linear things. Those only work if you want to sell a belief. So this is what happens, or this is a possible explanation. Even when an organization wants to embrace this new philosophy and they start to embrace it, after the initial clarity dissolved, because we know change is not easy, and the initial energy motivation wanes, the common response is to search for quick wins, grasp for certainty, and look for predictive metrics, best practices, not good practices, best. We look for someone telling what should we do, and then frameworks that promise control. We look for frameworks that say everything will be fine, do this, and at the end of the rainbow, everything will be fine. And as a result, this organization keep doing the same things, maybe under a new name, entertaining the illusion that change has really happened. And that's one reason why those ideas that are old, again, James Jacob, Christopher Alexander, and others, but they didn't stick. So what can we do ourselves and our organization to make this new philosophy stick? So first, let's have a look at how this philosophy is different from the old one. So we get a sense of awareness of what has really changed more in detail. This new paradigm is empirical. Do things like we do normally in our life. It adopts a trial and error approach and learn by doing from feedback. Children do that. We, outside working hour, do that continuously. It's incredible. We do that in our life, but then we enter the office and we switch. So empirical participative is about collaboration and sharing responsibility. People-centric, not process-centric. People that is the most adaptable and creative element of any organization. Adaptive process and way of working are constantly changing to adapt to changing circumstances and to embed lessons learned. It is collaborative and restorative. What it means? Responsibility are shared with the customers in a way that whether the customer is internal or external, you can make and keep promises in a way that work when there are uncertainty, unknowns, and change. So if I ask your manager, we are dealing with something new, we are navigating uncharted waters, there is uncertainty. How can you make promises to your internal or external customers in a way that you can keep them? If they don't know how to answer these, they are still working with the old approach. So you see, the new approach is really different. There are a different way of dealing those things. Having a buffer or placing blame, that's not shifting, that's the old way. It is organic and humanistic and not mechanistic like the software factory. And from a scientific point of view is holistic, non-ergodic, informed by human complexity science, and because of that can address black swan, dragon kings, and the consequences of uncertainty principle. So when we are talking about not the classical Newtonian physics, but modern science, I'm referring to progress in biology and quantum physics that deal with the type of uncertainty that is similar to the one that we face in our project. So from a scientific point of view, we look into that. As an Italian, I will say when you ask where free will comes from, you have to shift to this type of science, because the other science that tell us where planets will be in 100 years, they cannot find a place for free will and from the type of uncertainty that we are dealing with. So the new paradigm put focus in different things, and that things that allow us to address uncertainty, unknowns, change, missing fragmented information, too much information and not enough time to process it, a sense of lack of control due to external dependencies that also get amplified by the high-speed frequency of interaction that we have nowadays online and with the internet. And things and situations that are prone to snowball and to escalate. Now, these things are becoming common in our life, but also in every industrial sector. They are pervasive, persistent, and more frequent. So the question is, given what makes it hard to switch to this new philosophy, what makes it easy to go back to the old one, what makes it easy to forget this new philosophy? Given all this, what can we do to help ourselves and to help our organization to make the switch? These are the three things that I found may help, or this is what some literature suggests. So actually, crisis and adversity can become an opportunity because adversity, crisis, and struggle can trigger change and advancement. When companies have tried everything and they are having a really hard time with estimate, with the challenging projects, with dealing with customers that the traditional contracts cannot deal with, they may be more open to exploring new ideas. That's true for organization and also for individuals. Now, I told you about the personal aversion that we have as a human being. That's true, but we recently had the master class in the complexity of life. Think about Brexit, COVID, think about Ukraine, Gaza, Red Sea crisis, AI revolution, the recent disruption of world order and global trade. All these things are making our life very turbulent, and still we are surviving that. So even if we have some natural trait that push us away, modern time are also giving us a master class in that type of complexity. And then there are human nature inclination. You mentioned being a parent. Think about being a parent, what is predictable there. The only thing that you know is that you don't know and that you will be surprised and you will be unprepared to what is in front of you. And still we manage to do that. We live and thrive in extended and combined family. We manage a social situation ambiguities. This is a community, a lot of people know each other, but many meet new people, we don't know each other, and we go through that ambiguity and we manage to have good conversation. We know how to do that, we have those skills. Sometimes we have conflicting emotions and still in the end we manage to come out with the final decision that can be good. We manage a relationship and love, we reconcile inconsistency between our different belief systems. And we deal with complex endeavor, as I was saying before, planning some vacation with the difficult people, I'm talking about myself, or restructuring our home with the people that have different calendars, and it becomes very messy. So there is indeed the parallel between life and the messiness of a project, and our ability to deal with one is telling me that there is an ability, we have an ability of dealing with the other two. But in order to help in our work, we need to bring our full human self to work, and we need organization that allow us to express our humanity. Now let's see a couple of things. In order to do that, our leadership and our leaders need to change behavior and attitude. And I want to give some direction about this. Some of the skills and the attitude that the leaders need, that they need to change behavior. Formal leaders, informal leaders, team leaders, and people like us that are passionate and that can influence others in order to make space in our team and in our organization to deal with this. So the first set of attitude and behavior that need to change is a different attitude in relation to accepting complexity. Being aware that this type of projects and challenges exist, and having the ability to recognize which projects are like walking a path that we walked before and we know, and recognizing when we are navigating uncharted water. Having that ability to know the difference is the first change. The second is the ability to keeping a positive attitude toward these challenges. Having the curiosity, being positive and appreciative of those that are trying to deal with these challenging projects or challenging decision. It's the opposite of give me an estimate, give me a size. Yes, but there is these external dependencies, there is this pros, this cons, we have to, no, give me a date. Yeah, that's the opposite of being, it's like I don't want to hear that we have a challenge, and so I cannot help if I don't want to even hear that. And then collaboration and community. Because we need multiple people as a human being, as a team, every one of us is like a human sensor and provide the ability and the collective knowledge that make it easy. Then having an attitude that is positive in informing complexity fit action. It means being patient, avoid premature decision, embracing obliquity. Sometimes, the best way to deal with a challenge is not direct, but you have to work around or to solve a problem through secondary effects. Interstitial perspicacy, or the ability to see the unseen and to look into things that are usually overlooked. An example, we have a meeting, we are talking about a problem, and everyone agree, and you have someone that disagree. Normally you will say, why wasting time to listen? Most of us agree. But if you are dealing with a complex problem, that person may be the only one that is looking at the blind spot. And so you want to amplify dissonant voices instead of looking for the majority. That's an example of that interstitial perspicacy. And understanding is another thing that is needed, understanding the principle that govern complexity. And then a set of attitudes that enable complexity fit or action or effective action, like learning to be at ease with uncertainty and lack of control, being responsive and resourceful, and being resilient. That means, for example, adopt the technique, the tool, and what is needed to react quickly, and also to recover from failure and other practices. I want to quickly go through this. I'm just giving some idea. And principles like being authentic as a leader, collaboration like transparency, autonomy, widespread collaboration, teamwork, and mastery like the importance of organizational excellence and technical excellence to react when we are dealing with the crisis. Now we are close to the end. Some of the organizations that adopted this philosophy look more like what is described on the right side. I'm quickly going through now. I'm not saying that every organization look like that. Actually, I'm saying the opposite. Every organization is different. If, let's say, your organization would adopt more this philosophy, it may look in a completely different way. But I don't want to be too abstract, so I dare to give you some example. Some of the companies that I've seen have been less hierarchical and more networked in terms of organizational chart and actual collaboration inside the organization. Less organized in functional silos and matrix, and more cross-functional autonomous business unit. That was a design that was very common years ago in my area around my hometown, northeast of Italy. Less individualistic and more team-oriented, that they see work as a team sport in every part of the organization. Less command and control and more self-coordination. Less centralized authority and more distributed authority. So less committee and more empowered people. Less secretive and more transparent. Role and responsibility are less fixed and collaboration is less scripted. Instead, it is more fluid and more adaptive. Less bureaucracy and process and more adaptable people. Less specific innovation initiative and more continuous organizational innovation. Again, your organization can be very different, but I wanted to give you some practical example. Okay, that's the presentation. I would like to hear your thought. If you still have energy left, reflection and question, and eventually let's see if I can give you some example. But I will start from reflection and question from your experience on this.